There is nothing a parent fears more than the disappearance of their child. There is nothing society fears more or loathes more than a person who would kill a child. In this segment, we take a look at the disappearance and the murder of 9-year-old Amber Hagerman in Arlington, Texas, and it happened in a parking lot like this one. It gave birth to something we all know very well when we pass down highways and see it, the Amber Alert system. Now, the Amber Alert system is an acronym, but it was based on an actual case that occurred in Arlington, Texas. So in this segment, we take a look at the murder and unsolved mystery surrounding the death of Amber Hagerman. Well, that brings us to what happened. Amber Hagerman, 9 years old, and her 5-year-old brother Ricky, along with their parents, were visiting the child's grandparents in Arlington, Texas. Now, they wanted to go bike riding, which they had done many times. And the grandmother said, fine, go ahead, but don't get farther than 1 block away from the house. Well, typical children, they disobeyed, and they went 2 blocks away from the house and wound up in the Winn-Dixie parking lot. Younger brother Ricky, growing a bit scared that he disobeyed his parents' wishes, decided to go home. He pedals home to his grandparents' house, tells his parents that Amber is still in the parking lot. Parents tell Ricky to go back and fetch their daughter and bring her home. Ricky goes back to the parking lot. Amber's nowhere to be seen. So he pedals back home and tells his parents. Now they're upset. The parents get in their car, drive to the Winn-Dixie parking lot. Amber's bike is there, but no sign of Amber. But the police are already there. An elderly man, Jim Kelvin, had seen what had happened, but was unable to prevent what happened. Turns out that he saw a young man grab Amber, force her into a dark pickup truck, and take off. So word gets out to Dallas media outlets that Amber Hagerman is missing, and so the search commences. Unfortunately, Amber's body is found nude 4 days later. Well, the evidence and circumstances suggested that Amber Hagerman's murder was unplanned. Her killer was never found, but the reaction of the Dallas government was swift and immediate. It created something locally called the Amber Alert system, which required law enforcement to notify the media in the event of a disappearance of a small child. The Amber Alert system in Dallas is credited with saving 1 child's life, and so the federal government decided to follow suit. Many states and the federal government adopted their own Amber Alert system. How effective are Amber Alert systems? That's a question we'll look at in this segment also. But the question still remains, who killed Amber Hagerman and why? And are Amber Alert systems effective? The history of American criminal justice is riddled with examples of racial discrimination against African Americans. And no case so encapsulates that injustice than one that happened in the 1930s in Alabama. It's the case of the Scottsboro boys of the Scottsboro 9. 9 young African American men riding the rails on a railroad track like this one in Alabama were accused of raping 2 white women. Did the crime occur? What happened? And more importantly, what else was at stake in this case? Was it the crime itself, or were there greater issues involved on both sides of the equation? That's what we'll take a look at in the case of the Scottsboro boys of the Scottsboro 9. happened in the case of the Scottsboro 9 of the Scottsboro Boys. It was the early 1930s, and America was in the throes of the Great Depression. Millions of people were out of work. Poor people became even poorer. Hoboing, or riding the rails, was a popular pastime among people who didn't have a job or among petty criminals running from the law. Well, that was the case with a train that left Chattanooga, Tennessee, bound for Memphis, Tennessee. Along the way, it dipped down into northern Alabama. Now, on this one car, there were several Caucasian men and several African American men, as well as 2 Caucasian or white women. Now, a fight broke out on the railroad car. The black men threw the white men off the train. Well, at least that was what was said. Now, the white men who were thrown off the train arrived in Scottsboro, Alabama before the rail car did, and they told authorities what they said had happened. When police officers were waiting on the train, when it passed through Scottsboro, they detained or arrested every African American man on that train, including 9 young men, 4 of whom knew each other prior, all of whom except one were illiterate, and they ranged in age from 14 to 19 years old. Now, the 2 white women who were aboard the train, along with a white man, the white women en route to the police station reported that the 9 young African American men had raped both of them. And that set in motion the case of the Scottsboro Boys, or the Scottsboro 9.